Welcome to Align Trading, going over today's SPY recap and live analysis before taking a look at what to be watching into tomorrow. So first thing that I explained today in the pre-market brief for Discord members was to be watching with the gap up that we had for this yellow and blue controlled selling algorithm right here to build liquidity if we needed to, like I explained. You see how we formed that in the morning before getting that initial move higher. But after that, we started to get into a chop. As you can see, we build more liquidity with that blue and yellow controlled selling and another inverse head and shoulder. Now, if you were looking to short this in the morning, a couple of things that could have prevented you from doing so. You can see that not only did we form this right here within that blue and yellow, but we could not even close the gap back down to here, and then from that point, right, either form some sort of support and continue the move higher, or we do form this larger head and shoulder breaking out of this green algo along with this white, and then that retest of the 5-day moving average, which would ultimately have to turn to resistance. That being said, we will now take a look at the 1-minute chart here, going over the intraday analysis. As you can see here on the 1-minute chart, taking a look at the microstructure and algorithms. So here off of the open, you can see how we begin building this liquidity right here with this inverse head and shoulder. But from that point, like I explained right here, we would have to see this turning into support right there, and it did not. And to be looking for the possibility of this breaking right here with this tapering pink algo. You see how we form that, and then this head and shoulder, as well as that 10 a.m. news candle. We close that inverse cup back to the bottom of that range that we have here, and then again you can see how this handle starts forming right there and is another head and shoulder for that move down. So after that move down, right, no continuation. You see that we cannot form, right, this same pink algo as we continue lower. Ultimately, to close that gap we talked about if we were to head down, and we did not. And there is this yellow and blue algo still building liquidity right here, if you see that. And we formed this inverse head and shoulder back off of this support. You see this initial cup and handle right there. And then ultimately, as I explained here, we need to be seeing this handle forming here as well. And it eventually does with that inverse head and shoulder, but just not much room to the upside here. You can see how we start tapering once again, and there is no continuation within that white. Now you may have taken this short right here off of that head and shoulder, looking for this inverse cup to close, and then maybe we form a handle, right? And you get that breakdown for that low of day retest, which did not form. And we can see with that blue and yellow, right? It is controlled selling. So it still could have been a winning trade if you took that short, but would have to see this level ultimately turn to resistance. And then again here. Now with this here as well, you can see how we are building the liquidity with this blue and yellow that I'm explaining on the 30-minute chart here as well, as we start to form that inverse head and shoulder. And I also talked about in yesterday's video how we would be within the range of this upper Bollinger and this 5-day moving average, looking for that retest ultimately, and we got that today, unless we turn that 5-day to resistance. So with this move up right here, you can see how I'm starting to explain if you are looking for this continuation, we need to be seeing this inverse head and shoulder forming and eventually holding above this level that we can see is resistance. Otherwise, if you are looking for this to head down, we need to be forming this head and shoulder right there, which you can see eventually does form once we turn that level to resistance. There is that dump, but many fake outs, right? You see that inverse cup close here, right? Again, bounce here, and it does not finally happen until we actually close that level, and you see that dump that we talked about. Even here, if you are looking for that, right, gotta see these levels turning to resistance. Now you can see how there is this tapering algo right, that is starting to form right there, and you are looking for that to break, which also coincides with that level. So two things, right, that you are looking for if you take that break and we start to form that very nice head and shoulder right there. But you also have to pay attention, right, that this is still controlled selling, and you see how we are building that liquidity right here for this inverse head and shoulder, grabbing all of that liquidity to the downside, getting everyone short, and then running it back up, taking all of this liquidity with them. And then from there, right, with the blue and yellow controlled selling, another inverse head and shoulder. And you see how blue and yellow continues to dominate on the way up here for the rest of the day as we continue moving higher, right? No reason to be shorting. Now, with this move here as well, like I explained, you have to see this inverse cup close at low of day and then turn that into resistance. Maybe a handle forms. Otherwise, this is still controlled selling, and we can see with not only these algos, but on the 30, right, with that blue and yellow, you see how we form that inverse head and shoulder that I explained, unless, right, we close that inverse cup, turning that to resistance, and then from there you can look for that gap close, and then ultimately the 5-day retest. But now going over what to be watching into tomorrow. So with this upper Bollinger Band finally being retested, we can now look for this 5-day to start flattening out, right, and some sort of retest towards that. Now, if that does happen, right, we need to be seeing this head and shoulder starting to form right here as we grab that liquidity on the way down, and then we can start to look for this gap to close, and at the gap in 5-day, if we do want to head lower, so be it, right? Got a few levels to watch for. Now, if we do continue moving higher, that is fine. Just watch your blue and yellow controlled selling. And for that continuation, same thing at these levels, right? If we cannot break this, well, you can look for that continuation here. Same goes for the gap, and then ultimately the 5-day moving average, wherever we must build liquidity to continue unless there is a larger downtrend. In the case that we turn that 5-day to resistance, then we will be looking for the 20-day retest, right? So upper Bollinger, you turn the 5-day to resistance, and then you get that move to the 20. We form support off of the 20, and there is that move higher, and we can now repeat. But that is all for the video, so please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see members in the morning.